I know you signed back in May, I think a 3-year extension for your current role. And you mentioned to me kind of you have a 20-year vision. That's kind of the language you're using with the guys. What is your vision for the program of the University of North Carolina? And what do you feel like you would personally, it's like undeniable you left the program better than you found it. You probably did that a month in. Um, just from an outsider's perspective, you've crushed it. But what do you feel like you would need to do, to leave the program ultimately one day feeling really good about your time as a coach there? Could you do that now? And if not, what would you have to do to feel good about it?
Yeah, well, I hope that's not, just on results. Like, hey, we won a national championship or we didn't. Or an ACC, or one, like, did our people leave here ready, ready for the next phase of their life, right? Like, did this thing that you did for 4 or 5 years when you were part of our program and part of our family, like, did it better prepare you for whatever you do next? You are ready to kick ass at. Like that's the bottom line. Like that's the most important thing, right? Like whether you win a national championship or score a single point at the ACCs, like that's it. So that's step one, and I feel like we're doing that really, really well right now. But I think we can continue to do it better, right? But I feel like we're doing that really, really well because, man, we keep this thing small and tight, so we can really challenge and be in alignment with our people of like, hey, you got world class goals. We're on the trip with you. Like we're on the journey. Let's go. So that's step one. From a competitive perspective, because like obviously, man, we're super competitive. That's what we do. Um, I'm an East Coast guy. I went to the West Coast and came back, right? And like I love the idea that we can create an epicenter of distance running in the United States here in Chapel Hill. Like, and again, that's bold. We're not there yet, but that was our vision. It's like, can we create an epicenter of distance running in the United States, or one of the epicenters, right? Obviously, Flagstaff is one right now. Can we create one here where we've got one of the best college programs in America? We've got pros staying to train, right? And we recognize that this is a great place to train. No, we haven't done any of that yet. We're getting there. That has been my big vision. Is like I want to help people become world class. I want this to be an elite program that's putting people on Olympic teams, competing for national championships, beating the West Coast and the mountain teams. And no, we're not there yet, but we're certainly chipping away on it too.
You mentioned that first year placing 10th at ACCs, and I think something as high performers is, once you transcend and you get better and you get better, a lot of times you forgot where you came from. And so, you guys placed first last year. I could see some athletes in this situation. If you don't get first, you beat yourself up. But you look at how far you've come. And if you have that kind of perspective of gratitude, it's really self assuring of, wow, we've come such a long way. Look at what we've built. There's a great saying I came across, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, which was, if you've forgotten the language of gratitude, you'll never be on speaking terms with happiness. I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. What's your take on gratitude, and specifically in these moments where the outcomes may be a little unsure, but just taking a moment, all these athletes who are going to be racing for you, in postseason, at conference, they've come such a long way in the sport. And I think, if we can't reflect on how far we've come, I mean, man, even I'm sure if you ask them, like, you're running for the University of North Carolina, you probably didn't think about this when you first, laced up your Walmart shoes back in the day. Like, that's crazy. That's a crazy reality. You're even running Division 1, much less at this university, much less, competing for championships.
Hmm.
I'm rambling here, but what's your take on gratitude and how important it is, not just in sport, but also life?
All right, I think it's fundamental, man, and I think we all, as elite competitors, athletes, or coaches, like we fear complacency so much, like that we don't pause enough to be grateful for what we have and what we've done. And I mean, you had Patrick and Will on the podcast. I can't wait to hear that one. And I mean, it's what we went through with those guys. And when I say we, yes, they went through, but like our whole team went through that with those guys. And I mean, we say like, man, they are our superpower. Like they are our superpower. I mean, those guys, yeah, they were nearly dead, like literally nearly dead, and man, if that doesn't give you just perspective and gratitude of like, yo, we get to go do this. Like Patrick was in my office 30 minutes ago before we got on this call. And like we're talking about this ACCs, and it's like step one, man. Talk about the race plan, what you want to do. Hey, man, we get to go do this Friday. Like, dude, you get to go do this again. Like, I will never ever lose that perspective after what we went through with those guys. And that they're back here and doing it is awesome. I think for them it's really interesting because those two guys specifically, they're major competitors. Major competitors. So like sometimes I think they get sick of hearing that, which is why I keep saying it. I remind them, but they're like, "Yeah, I know, I get all that. Yeah, it's great, but hey, I still want to win." You know, and I think that's the balance always, right? When we're elite players. So long answer to your question, gratitude, and like, man, I said this on the first podcast you and I did together, and I think when Mike is on as well. Like, to be honest with you, man, like I never thought coaching and doing this would give me the life I have today. Like I'm here doing this. Like, are you kidding me, man? Like, this is phenomenal, man. It's awesome. So I try to never really lose sight of that too.
I don't think I've ever asked you this question, and I don't know if I've ever asked it on the podcast before. The word success gets thrown around a lot in society today, but particularly within sports. And so on a sports podcast, it'll get brought up a lot. This is successful. This is what success looks like, yada, yada, yada. Winning a championship would be successful. What to you does the word success mean? And how do you strive after that ideal?
I think for me personally, like, I feel successful if I feel like I did the absolute best I knew how to do to help our people become the best they could be. I think what eats at me sometimes is like when I think there's something I could have done better. Like, that is what eats at me the most, right? Like, and so to me, that's my success. Is like, did I do everything I knew how to do and was capable of doing in that moment, like, to help them become the best they could be? And I know that's vague and broad, but I think you got to start there, right? Like, and helping, like I said earlier, helping people leave better prepared, and then I think, like, part of the thing I still love, like, man, we want to find the edges. Like, we want to find the edges, and then whatever your edges are, we want to push up on the edges of, like, maxing out what you're capable of. Like, we want to find it and that's our mission, right? This is not go through the motions, and I don't care if that's to run 15 minutes in the 5K or 13 minutes in the 5K. Like, for a guy, it's like, dude, we want to find what your max is and let's pursue it and push up on the edges, because that's where you're going to find out the most about yourself and the most of what you're capable of and how to go apply that to everything you do too. So I know I gave you kind of a vague answer there, but that's really how I feel. I said, man, did we do the best we could for the people we had every day?